There is a standard way to tell a joke. You set up a premise to give the audience context and then deliver a punchline to inject some humor. It's simple, easy, and effective, but it's not the only way to tell a joke. Every comic works a little bit differently, and therefore the way that they tell jokes is a little different. This gives us the range that we see today. We have everything from punchlines to stories to props with stories. Comedians take wildly different approaches to wind their way to the exact same result.
That's how I met Andy. That was the first time I saw Andy. And he said he was looking at me like, oh, that dude doesn't need props. Like, oh man, I brought props. I was like, oh, I should have brought props.
Clearly then, there is no correct way to tell a joke, but you'll see comedians reach for less obvious joke formats because they can lead to jokes having a larger impact.
And that's where McCain has the advantage, because all his friends are dead.
The impact Rock delivers comes from a culmination of more than 8 minutes of storytelling. It's actually very difficult to see the punchline coming, and that contributes to its effectiveness. Similarly, one such style of comedy writing is to have people talk across each other. Trevor Noah has been known to do this.
Is this you?
Never before have I felt so much pressure to look like myself.
As has Jerry Seinfeld.
I know why we have reservations.
I don't think you do. If you did, I'd have a car.
But Tom Segura has to be the most accomplished at this by a long shot. And you can tell it's one of his favorites from how he talks about his own profession.
Comedian. Mostly stories. I feel like no matter where I go, 10 times a day, I find myself asking myself this question. I find myself going like, hey man, is anybody else seeing this shit?
This is an escalating series of interactions in which neither side appears to be having the same conversation.
I went to buy a coffee just a few weeks ago from a coffee place, just so there's no confusion.
While we sense that this was a tense moment at the time, the retelling does nothing but produce laughter from the audience.
That's cool. I don't want that.
And it's not due to brevity. Nothing here is brushed over. Segura really takes his time to emphasize his failure to communicate with the barista.
Nothing? You have no solution? She goes, do you still want coffee? I'm like, yeah, that part's never changed.
The whole conversation is set up as a frustrating experience, but it's interpreted by the audience as funny and genuinely comedic. And this isn't a one-off example. His work is filled with these stories, ostensibly tense moments where Segura is failing to communicate to another person. I say ostensibly because Segura makes no effort to help things along, which suggests he gets a little bit of a kick out of this.
And he goes, move. Mm-hmm. He goes, you move. Yep.
It's worth noting that there are no specific jokes in these encounters. If anything, they're framed as complaints more than anything else.
Are you reading me a fucking novel about this? Jesus, just say no. You a comedian? I go, yeah. He said, where's your show? I said, it's a comedy club called the Pittsburgh Improv. He goes, well, when's your show? And I go, tomorrow. And he goes, where? And I go, still at the Pittsburgh Improv.
The format of the conversation here is identical. Two people talking across each other. However, the tension is ramped up in this scenario because you would expect Mike Tyson to be more responsive than the oldest guy on earth.
Oh, the uppercut. What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
Well, maybe not. What's interesting is Segura's reaction to this is to remain incredibly starstruck, rather than becoming increasingly annoyed as he did in the previous encounter. This lends itself to the comedy because two people fighting over something is generally not funny. All you have is tension there. These moments become funny when the parties involved have some give and take.
He looked around, he was like, who's talking shit? And I was like, I'm talking shit, bitch. I didn't say it, but he knew what was up. But then...
The best example of Segura giving is shown when he makes bold claims towards something which is just met by confusion.
So I turn and I go, excuse me, are you stabbing your baby right now? And the dad goes, no, I love the baby. And I said, well, could you?
We have the encounter we saw from when he asked someone to move, but rather than taking in this instance and escalating the encounter, we see Segura give ground.
I went out the exit immediately because I'm not getting my ass kicked over the Lego movie, so I left.
And that's necessary because in this encounter, his counterpart took the aggressive stance.
Most starstruck you've ever been?
You know, it's always with rappers.
One reason that Segura might be so adept at this brand of storytelling is because this seems to be genuinely just how he talks.
And I was like, hey man, he was like, excuse me. I was like, I'm a big fan. He's like, do you mind? And I was...
No matter where he is, Segura tells stories from his life with this give and take, which is very naturally entertaining, but at no point does he deliver a punchline. The entire thing is realistically one large joke. Hello, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's definitely not the last video I'm going to make about Tom Segura, but in the event that you feel the insatiable need to check my channel every day to see if I've posted the next one, I'm going to save you some time with this pro tip. Subscribe. It's great feedback for me that you would like to see more of these videos, and it would only expedite the making of the next one. However, I understand that this is a big commitment, so no pressure.